Good morning, morning. Good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates. Now, Hurricane Beryl, a powerful Category 4 storm, struck the island of Tobago yesterday. And here to give us an update this morning on the aftermath, we are joined by Mr. Allan Stewart, Director of TEMA. Mr. Stewart, a special morning to you.
Indeed, a special good morning to you as well, and all of Trinidad and Tobago, the wider Caribbean, across the world who have interest in Tobago.
All right, so Mr. Stewart, Hurricane Beryl would have brought extreme weather conditions to Tobago yesterday. Give us an update on how is it now for the island, because we noticed that probably on the western end we did not see as much damage as we would have seen more in the northern areas and even the countryside. So give us an update on the aftermath, please.
Following the passage of Beryl, we would have experienced to date at this time up to 0600 hours this morning, 150 reports. These reports impacted over 50 communities across the island of Tobago. So in some way we can say it was widespread, and that was expected based on the size of the system. The intensity was one that we prepared for the worst. I think that was the mantra of the Chief Secretary, that we ought to prepare for the worst. Given the fact that we, on the approach, when we went to tropical storm warning, we were braced in for a Category 4, which seek to point out that we are dealing with winds in excess of 130 miles per hour. And I recall when the approach as a Category 4, we were seeing winds looking to go up to 150 miles per hour. And you know, I wonder, but I conclude this morning that God has been good to us.
Correct.
And for persons like myself, it strengthened my faith in that there is a God, you know, because I remember being here and we were discussing issues about preparing Tobago for a catastrophic event. And it gave rise to the concept of making cities resilient. And something that we brought into our vision was always to see Tobago becoming a resilient island. These reports that we receive spread across a spectrum of varying categories. We want to thank God there were absolutely no casualties, there were no deaths, and we are very grateful for that. Another statement that I heard that is very interesting is that somebody said that this is not a year, it is a test. I heard the Chief Secretary said, this Tobago is a dress rehearsal yesterday. And as we speak, we know that there is another system that is just to the east of us, and therefore one must prepare. We are very grateful that there were no reports of the destruction of structures, critical or significant damages to infrastructure. Damages to the airport, they were non-reported. I just spoke to the Port Authority. I know that they are putting on special ceilings today to move the mass of persons that are on the island. One can see them piling up. So there should be about 3 ceilings leaving Tobago today. There are some areas that are still without electricity. And that's the reason why in this campaign we continue to ask persons, citizens, business places, that you prepare yourself for 72 hours. It means, therefore, that this type of event and the type of disruption that you would have had in the electricity service across the island, it's difficult to just turn on back the power where you may have disruption of lines in the ground. There are procedural steps to that, and therefore it's even equally important that citizens, not necessarily knowing all these factors, but taking the necessary instructions from those of us, which our role as TEMA is to coordinate a network of agencies so we understand well what is happening. We are the go-between, the citizens, the various agencies, the responding agencies. Yesterday was very dicey in terms of the weather came a little later than we expected. And therefore, that is a good thing, as we saw what was coming to us. We were very concerned that these winds, I was reminded that, I made a joke, a story about my grandmother saying, that galvanized look like leaves. When sometime by the time you recognize it's a galvanized, it's right on you. So you have to be careful. And that being happening in the night, we would have had a really, really different story here today. And it's important for us in Tobago to understand what really missed us as we go along. So we had about 40 roof incidents. We also had around 31 fallen trees, and we see trees becoming a major. 31 of those, we recognize that some of these trees fall in houses. Blocked road, we had 14 incidents of blocked roads. We had still one landslide, and I believe that I still feel that today you may see here some slope failures as the amount of water that we have in the soil. There's a strong possibility that you may hear slope failures or collapsed structures that may have just given way under the amount of water. Marine incidents, we had 2 marine incidents, 2 of them reported in the port of Scarborough here. There were about 3 reports of that. Also, we had various assistance in terms of requests for persons just needing help. These challenges, we have our own challenges where we recognize that there are still areas without electricity. So 32 areas as of last evening was without electricity, and by now it has boiled down to 11. So I was able to give the guys from Tiantec a thumbs up this morning when I see just after 5 minutes to 6 this morning, they were heading deep north to restore electricity where there are some losses. So we are very, very grateful, and I think I'll pause there and allow you to so I can catch my breath.
All right, Mr. Stewart, so thank you for that very detailed update, and I appreciate the fact that you said the island was in fact spared, because when we look at the effects other islands have, such as Barbados, St. Vincent especially, you can see just the magnitude of damage that Tobago was spared. And you would have mentioned the system that is to the east of us that is approaching, I assume. Is this something that we should be concerned about?
Definitely. I think based on the trajectory of the disturbed weather system that we are seeing, we see winds are already up to 30 miles per hour. And therefore we have to keep our eyes on that system. It started a little lower. Trinidad, Tobago is located 11 degrees north of the equator. We saw that approaching just around between 8 degrees, 8 point something degrees north of the equator, around 30 something longitude, sorry, and therefore that is cause for concern. And therefore we have to pay. One of the things, as you look at the chart, to the northeast of Charlottesville, which received the strongest of the winds, one of the things that we can tell you emphatically is that the system passed just around 42 miles. The radius of it, or the center of it, passed just about 42 miles northeast of Charlottesville. However, it's from a very scientific point of view to understand why we were spared. The storm strength winds went out to, or should I say, the hurricane force winds went out to about what one can describe as 18 miles. With that being said, you will understand that the winds that we got away from did not extend itself to us. So you look at the distance, you look at the map right now, I normally tell people Tobago, it's shaped from the crown point right of the Charlottesville on a straight line that's about 22 miles. Look at the distance. You multiply that by 2, you'll see it's around 40 something thereabout. And those are the little things behind the scenes that we use in order to calculate and to know exactly what the ferocity of the winds will be like. We pay attention to the radius of the winds, the extent to which the storm strength winds. Another factor is that the southern side of the storm is always the weaker side. If you remember Hurricane Ivan, when it impacted Grenada, we received tropical storm strength winds. It did cause some damage to the island of Tobago, and we recognize, so it's very clear that we were spared, and therefore scientifically we can see that moving to the north, that the Grenadines, I am so sorry to see what has happened to some of these islands to the north of this system. The Grenadines, even St. Vincent, that is just directly west of Barbados, they would have got some damages as well. And therefore, we recognize that our neighbors, our prayers are with them, and we hope that they're able to recover nicely. Right. Today, I want to talk about what is the steps. What happens after this?
Yeah, this is forward.
Yeah. So what is happening is this. There are 150 persons out there that were affected one way or the other. Some indirectly. A majority of those persons we recognize have damages to their roofs. Dana teams are going to be out there. We have started yesterday attending to some of these reports. We, in the planning concept to this event, I want to thank our partners. I want to thank the ODPM. We had some conversation with General Smart. And in 2015, we ran an exercise in Speyside. Those years, he was at the Defense Force, head of the Defense Force, somewhere around there. And we were able to simulate something like what is happening, what happened over the weekend, where the island was decimated, and he had to bring forces to Tobago. One of the things we discover is the logistics challenges to move assets from Trinidad to Tobago. And when we had this conversation prior to the event itself, I told General Smart, I remind him of the exercise that was run. He brought it to Tobago. And I said, I would love to see you pre-position resources in Tobago. I told him what was important is human assets and mechanical assets. The mechanical asset, we understand, has to travel with the vessel. And this is the first sailing out of this is today. So you could understand if Tobago was impacted, the boats that were coming up today would have been bringing up assets. And that's the reason why we tell people to prepare for 72 hours. One of the things that we recognize is that he made good on that promise by sending soldiers almost immediately. So we had the soldiers.
That's good.
So you have seen the soldiers in the field yesterday and doing a lot. They will continue to do so this morning. Another champion thing that happened is the executive and the administrative arms of the THA came together and worked on this incident. We were able to do the procurement process right around a table, all players on deck. And that helped quite a lot. This morning, we are moving into the fields with materials to fix roof. Something we have not seen going back to the days of, is like happened in 2005, 2004, where we were able to move with materials to fix some of these roofs. So I just want to give the assurance to the public out there, those of you who have been affected, your roofs have been damaged, that assistance is coming your way, and exercise some patience. We cannot do everyone at the same time. And therefore, from where we sit at the disaster office, what we do, we coordinate things. We rank or put them in a taxonomy where we know definitely is like medium, severe, low categories, things like that. So we have that kind of a structure in the system. And if you may think your issue is something of great importance, no, it goes through a system and it's ranked in a particular way. And all of the urgent reports, those are what will be responded to first.
Understood, Mr. Stewart. So I want to thank you for joining us this morning
Pleasure
and
is
giving
mine.
us that very detailed update on Hurricane Beryl. Hopefully, as the week continues, we can have more regular interviews with you as we are monitoring that system that is coming in the direction. So, Mr. Stewart, I want to thank you once again. All
And
right.
I would want you to give me an opportunity to thank my staff. You know,
Okay.
they have been really, I saw what they have been going through.
Mm-hmm.
I have been with them for some time and I've seen their faces, and you see there's a light that you see in their faces that you know they on board with this thing.
That's
They
good.
embrace it. So I want to thank them very much for their help, the various the sections, the logistics sections. They came out and they do a tremendous amount of work. The planning unit, the operations room, the communication folks, the ICT team, and even the benevolence of some stakeholders, such as QT environment. They made Starlink available to us.
Okay.
You know, it's a big thing to have Starlink in operation like that, which means
Okay,
you're
interesting.
not without you're not without telecommunications in any way from internet connectivity. And we want to thank those players and all of the various agencies, the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Services, the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, the Works Division, you know, who are still with us, and we're doing a lot during the cleanup. You see the CPEP, we'll be meeting with CPEP.
Okay.
We met with them late last night, and they are in the field already doing stuff. I see Scarborough, they're clearing because they're preparing for that next one that is coming here.
Okay.
And the IQU, the teams, they are working, the heads of the divisions are all working, that we ensure. And that is one of the positive things about Tobago, where you could bring these people together,
Bring together
in a
to
small
work
unit.
together. That's correct, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you very much.
All right, viewers. So that was Mr. Allan Stewart, Director of TEMA, giving us an update on Hurricane Beryl. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back. Just remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.